Nick Tucker here with the Historical Fencing Guild. I apologize for the slightly late start this week. Basically, I am the parent of a special needs child, and occasionally his needs over overlap my own, and he's gonna come first every time. If that means I'm late for a video or two, I'm okay about that. The Historical Fencing Guild is brought to you by the sales of The Simple Sword by Nicholas A. Tucker. This is available with all my other books through Amazon at www.amazon.com/author/Nicholas Tucker. I'm also kept afloat by my beautiful patrons, the incredibly loyal Stephen Augusto, the radiant and brilliant Cindy Kep, and the ever expensive, I'm sorry, I saw Cindy, ever expansive Brian K. Morris of Rising Tide Publishing. If you want to help me help the people who've been right by me, look up CKOEPP.com. That's Cindy Kep's author website. She's doing amazing things. Hi, Cindy. Yes, today. Today's Friday the 13th, guys, and so aside from some of the necessities that delayed me, Friday the 13th is always a very good day. Now, I do want to, before I do, distill rumors that this bottle is indeed normal black cherry, like bootleg meal from Walmart. It did not, as has been suggested, come from a swirling potion bottle of death. This swirling potion bottle of death has nothing to do with my associations with House Avrinin, with House David by one Avrinin. This has nothing to do. This is not a bottomless draft, and I have in no way, shape, or form gotten any sustenance from it. So thank you. I hope that's all cleared up. Now, what we're talking about today actually is a bit more on the historical side, which is going to be delightful. We are talking, and I even have notes. I had a wonderful day, folks. We're talking about Friday the 13th, and why is it so reviled? Now, 13 is historically a somewhat blighted, although sacred to the Masons, number. It's a fascinating thing. I also, while I'm here, I want to shout out to Steve Clausen and John Miner. Both of them have supported me through business interests. And I have a bit of product news. So, Cindy, throw your link up on there so the people chatting can see your works, because you're too awesome and I could chat about this. Want to get to the date? Ironically, it was last Friday the 13th, in that it was Friday, October 13th, 1307, that the French Templars, the Knights Templar, were scooped up and they were tortured. And they were tortured into confessing to most vile accusations in a time where France and the Pope were feuding over power. And it's delightful because, when you look into some of the things that they were actually accused of. Let me see. I want to find my block. Oh, guys. Well, let's talk about who the Templars were. Simplified, bonehead simple. The Templars were the folks charged with guarding the people who were going to the Crusades. Now, they were very famously entangled with the idea that with proper training and the proper environment, a small force can overcome a much more powerful numeric force. And what's better, they pulled it off against Saladin, who in the Middle Ages is undoubtedly one of the most brilliant commanders and certainly one of the most eager cavalry commanders in history. They got a lot of fame and a lot of notoriety, but they also got something special in that they were essentially, how to spin this right, the bankers of the knights who went on crusade. The Templar would oversee the funds of somebody who might not be coming back to make sure it was all well and safe and invested properly. This gave them access to ludicrous amounts of money and power to the point where they actually became so powerful they were a threat to one of the Philips of France. So what they did, in that they were seriously considering setting up their own nation state. You see, with papal authority, all the Catholic kingdoms basically had to let them pass through. So basically, you had an army that could move through your kingdom's borders pretty much at will, that you didn't control. They weren't taxed. It would be, how to describe the Templars? If the to make a modern American idea, excluding Catholicism for the moment, if Blackwater is an armed branch, but it was an armed active branch attached to the a corporate version of the Fed, but immune to taxes, and decided they might just set up a state in the middle of New York. And because they had ties to Rome, which at the time had power better than the UN now, they were understood to be able to do things like this. Well, this is problematic, especially at a time when the then King Philip, who was not a very nice person at all, he had a problem. He was losing power. His country was going broke from the Crusades, like many European nations, and the Templars had power. They had money. And as soon as the Crusades ended, they had an army with literally nothing better to do. This is a mix for some heavy stuff to go down in his country, and he knew it. So they make up these accusations. They round up a bunch of them, and in classic, we don't need no freaking Judas Priest. We don't need any, due process. No, what we're going to do is torture them until they confess. And what they confess to. Well, folks, boy. Here we go. The 5 initial charges. These are what the Templars, who were rounded up, largely executed. But the nasty bits that happened in France on Friday the 13th. Let's see. They were... I'm sorry, I'm a little ahead because I'm talking about how shady. Here we go. Their charges. Where did that page go? I marked it special so that this wouldn't happen. Anyway, their charges were great because here we are. Blasphemy, heresy, and other charges. There were 5 initial charges against the Templars. First was renouncement and spitting on the cross during initiation to the order. That's a big deal, folks. Second was... okay, this is interesting. The second was the stripping of the man to be initiated and thrice kissing of that man by the preceptor on the navel, posteriors, and mouth. So this very unclean kissing. Third was telling a neophyte that the unnatural lust was lawful and indulged in commonly. The fourth was, the cord. They supposedly wore a cord that by day that was wrapped around an idol of a human head with a great beard. And then, what's the fifth? And the fifth, the priest did not consecrate the host and celebrate mass. This is heavy stuff. Now, how were they tortured? Oh, you got your classics. You got the rack. You got dipping their feet in boiling oil and then lighting it on fire to get them to talk. Stoning now. Where is that good stuff? The problem is it's in the middle of the article. Yeah, again, a lot of defiling the cross. That was a bad bit of juju, guys. But let's see, King Philip. That's what they did wrong. I'm trying to find my list. I was delighted by this. This is what I was doing today when I had a quiet bit of moment, and I'm thinking I actually dropped a page, which is why I can't find. But my favorite was they would dig a hole, a very narrow pit, and suspend someone within the hole, no wider than a pace, so a very small hole, bodily, with their wrists bound behind their back. And they would do this so that it would dislocate their shoulders. And they had a term for it. I believe it's called strapado. I have to find better prepared. See, I was more interested in the background of what they did to them, not actually the torture itself, because I was looking at the historic. Where is the torture scene? Gosh. Oh, wow. That's interesting because they actually get into wow. Forgot. They actually got into trying to make them Muslim. Really a big no-no. Tries with a specific form of devil worship that we would actually recognize as modern Satanism. Our buddy Baffy showed up. Point being, guys, it was a bad day to be a Templar, and you ask why? Because they had money, they had power, and they had an opportunity, so somebody struck before they could. And read up on King Philip. I really want to get into that later, because it's delightful. I mean, it's a story of intrigue, and you can find a very accurate, very concise version on Wikipedia, of all things. But you know, when something's been historically around, you'll find good stuff. This is really neat for us sword guys, because you're talking about a mix of advanced tactics, cunning ambushes that made them, but they were broken by appointing incompetent generals who didn't even, the head of the order set men out without enough food or water for the desert. Oh my gosh, it's delightful. And I really, really enjoy history like that. So that is one of the big attributors to what bad things have happened on Friday the 13th. Now, I kind of like Friday the 13th. It's always been fairly good to me. I got to spend the day researching torture and looking at the glory that is papal politics in the 1300s. Guys, I know I'm geeking out here, and it's a little off topic. I'm going real deep in the historical. But I have two viewers, the beautiful Cindy Kep and one mystery viewer. Neither of you have hit the likes. If you don't like this, let me know, and I won't divert this deep into the history. But what's really neat is they caught so few of the Templars in France relative to who they were. Most escaped. And then you get and so did lots of the money. This, folks, is how we get things like National Treasure and the Curse of Oak Island. This is great history. Nightly orders, stealing. Oh, yes. No, Cindy, really, because I was looking through my books, notes. Look up the stuff that King Philip of France pulled, because he was so scared. When he was scared of what the Teutonic Knights did in founding Prussia, he was worried that our boys, the Templars here, would do so. This is cunning. This is I like, if you want to see a condensed, creepy, brilliant little historical account, just dig into this. I mean, this is brilliant fodder. Oh, go. I will tell you, this roughly 11 pages of text I printed off for reference is better written than most well, it's real, but it's got depth and twists that most sci-fi thank you guys for the likes. Hello, Glenn. Glenn, we're being visited by Glenn. He is a wonderful author, an intense Arthurian researcher who I've had the pleasure to write at least the first draft to a intro on the section for Excalibur. What a wonderful project. That's one of those that's a passion project. I won't be getting anything financially, but you get be a piece of history that delightfully esoteric and possibly obscure. You jump at it. But yes, guys, look up the Crusades and the Knights Templar. Look up Friday the 13th and why it sucks for the Templars. It's tawdry. Oh, my pleasure, sir. It's tawdry and it's thrilling and it's true and it's human and it's ugly and it's brilliant. It's just like, if you want the best kind of absolute. Well, John, I wasn't going to out you for things. I would never out you, the Templars, or anything else. I will say, I disagree with, what was his name? I have to find it again. There was a general who was the high lead who made some very bad tactical choices. Yes. I have mild beef with is it Gerald? Yes, Gerald de Rodfort, because he made some really poor choices as a military strategist, but he was great with handling the money, from what we hear. And basically, he just didn't know desert tactics enough. But yes, the atrocities against the Templars are a fascinating bit of history, and yes, it's morbid and terrifying, but it's also affectionate. It's intriguing. So I really recommend. And it sounds silly for me to say just pull it off Wikipedia, but I found a great article. I will try to just share a link. I might throw a link in the end of this video if you guys like, for what I was digging through, because it's just like, if you wanted to write as a framework a delightful study as an author in the tactics and politics of money and power and how it can go awry and how, like, you could be literally the top of the world and come crashing down. This is good stuff, folks. So that is why my favorite part of why Friday the 13th is considered a bad day. But I am going to take a moment and go back to slightly more usual guild materials, give the history a break in that it probably needs to be given. Purple Heart Armory. Couple things about Purple Heart Armory. Yes, not only, yes, it is nice to know the Knights Templar in Portugal reorganized as the Knights. I mean, it really was pretty much, from what I've seen, a rebranding. Like, stamp, no, we're good. That's one of those organizations that I find intriguing comfort in believing in the levels of their added existence. But like all secret societies that I usually know of, or don't know of, as the case may be, at least on public lines, I usually choose to give them a fairly wide berth. Not out of disbelief, but out of respect. I have there was a saying, and I can't remember if it's Greek or if it's where the origin, but basically said the gods meddle in man's life, every man's life, at least once. it's best to just work through it and not seek it out. A fascinating bit of totally fictional theology on that is the references to Crom made by our old buddy Conan, the barbarian, the king, who as a swordsman fits on the fictional side of this channel quite nicely. But the trick with Crom is anybody who called upon him for help was pretty much immediately smited. He might help them, but of his own accord. It was far more your own strength. Fascinating bit of logic, and I do love a good bit of logic. Now, as I was slightly derailed, and I love it when you guys derail, please keep me. Yes. No. Absolutely. Not only do I know it, I can confirm it. Okay. Oh, the other thing I find delightful is the classified document from the papal vault, the vault in the Vatican that was released that stated that all these people were later secretly given full rights and passages by the Catholic Church in for spiritual needs. This is fascinating. This is just fascinating. And I knew that I knew most of the story. It's just been a while, so I had to go look at the references. History. If history is boring, you're doing it wrong. And if sword fighting is painful, you're doing it wrong. But if training is painful, you're doing it right. The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed on the battlefield. This brings me to some announcements, because as you know, I follow the different weapons producers. And I'm a huge fan of Purple Heart Armory out of Texas. Purple Heart has a couple things. One, I want to remind anyone who's interested in the Purple Heart Love Patch will no longer be on sale as of the 31st. And the German keychain tag that basically says that which hurts teaches. It's in German. My brain derped the phrase. But those will be going out at the end of the year. So if you want to snag yourself those guys, you want to get them. I found that out accidentally. The neat thing is Purple Heart has some really nice HEMA grade buffers, essentially. And I'm going to cover the huge text block that's going on between John and Glenn. I can't wait to get into that, but they're coming up. They are very sturdy. The Saber one especially is great for people with calibration issues. So Steph Marie, if you're watching this, it's sub $40 a piece. I think you and John could do well to get a pair to start building up for the spring when, the danger virus has left us all. Now, while I was chatting, Glenn said the commentary of the Knights Templar in Portugal was disbanded, then rebranded as it were, Knights of Christ, thanks to King David. Yes, it took the Church of Rome 500 years to bring Galileo back into the church. And John Miner says the Knights of St. Andrew are descendants from Templars outed from the Middle East, and they found a home in Scotland around Roslyn Chapel. That's what I thought. But you see, as is my policy, any mostly noble organization that survives something like that, I try not to publicly pry into. Oh yes, the Templars splintered officially after AD 1307, which would be that very Friday the 13th. Being at dawn, October the 13th, 1307, scores of French Templars were simultaneously arrested by agents of King Philip, just in case you don't know he's the bad guy in this, later to be tortured in locations such as the Tower at Chinon, into admitting heresy and other sacrilegious offenses in the order. This Yep. We're literally on the same page, Glenn. It's a fascinating period. Yes. That would be like calling me Nick the Tall. Or John Minor Tiny, incidentally. But yes, this is fascinating. And one thing I find when you study history, you have to look at the angles. Looking at just the politics won't explain unless you understand the finances involved, understanding the wars involved. John Minor says, Louis the Fair? Not. But so that, I looked into that and I spent an afternoon just delightfully looking over, the tactics, and I might get into that. If you guys don't get me started on the Templars. We could go for days. Well, you see, John, Glenn, there's this thing called the Book of Faces. It's rather popular on the interwebs. And if you two were to connect, not only could you exchange ideas, you could communicate ad nauseum on all things Templar. And I think you guys might find it interesting. You may not agree on all things. I will give you both a heads up. You're very, very dedicated to personal beliefs. But so much of your interests dramatically overlap. And I'm all about building relationships. Now, that talked about that. And I'm doing actually pretty good. I need to know, do you guys want me to discuss more cases of historical elements? Because I'm only skimming the surface on this Templar thing. Would you like me to break down tactics and things? I could do whole videos, either in this format where they're designed to be interrupted, or in long form where I'm just talking at the camera, chatting you all up. I wanna know. So answer that question to me, please. Also, I will be doing some crafting videos of sorts because I just acquired some closed cell foam from work that will be. Oh, I am very interested in this historical too. More in the cultures of. Oh, the cultures of what's normal. This is. Carl, I do see. There are two sets of stories, basically. History tends to record from their perspective, the important people, the people who matter. And occasionally, shockingly, ego gets, entangled in this. Equally shocking, it doesn't usually reflect the common man. So we get these wonderful tropes that are woefully historically inaccurate that we just all sort of passively through osmosis agree on. It's, for example, the idea that the medieval serf was uneducated and unthinking, little more than a beast of burden. When in reality, though literacy was delayed for quite some time, complex systems of measurement and self-government did exist in the feudal period because things weren't. They would handle their problems and not bring them up to the landlord. So courts for handling property disputes, and some of this still goes on to this day, where they settle things in these village tribunals. A really fascinating bit to go into, and as we go into that, that's important because just like when I talk about teaching fencing, I always, you look at a manual, you look at somebody doing something, you ask why. Because when a style is lost and recovered, okay, what will happen is many years will go by. Okay, this has been taught. This has been taught like you could go down and get shooting lessons at certain ranges. Or you can go to the gym or a dojo and get, karate or whatever, and learn the style as it's taught theoretically. But, if it all goes away, people forget it, rediscover and rebuild it, much like HEMA has. You end up in cases where you have manuals that either are simply images, or mostly images like Talhofer or I.33. These are manuals where they're just showing things. But the motion between the plates comes up a lot in historical fencing guilds as a mentality of how do I get from here to here. And after you've really gotten your mind wrapped around the how, you have to understand why. What makes that motion make sense? And it was incredibly difficult to record in a static medium like images. So you need the context. And just like you need the context of how the moves, you need the context of why. As a rule, lightly armored or unarmored, I'm sorry, we're getting peeked at by some of the stuff behind me. Lightly armored or unarmored opponents, the gear you fought against them is very different than the gear you would fight against someone who's in, ring mail or hybrid chain mail, sectional, versus what you're going to do against somebody in plate mail. Now, getting back at, it pulls right here. Knights were heavily armored, especially against like Turkish weaponry. Punching through that armor was hard, but you take a mounted knight and you punch through the horse, which right now my wife is twitching because we all love animals, but you drop the horse, you drop the knight. The knight, if he's not killed, which boy were mortality rates high, assuming he gets back, he needs a new horse, he needs to recover. This ties up money, this ties up time, and it gets experienced fighters off the field, so they have to keep cranking out new fighters, which is really hard to do. I watched a couple times where enrollment would rise and peak when I was in the SCA. And there would be this arc where you had about 5-6 years into the arc, maybe 3, you'd have a line of mid-grade good fighters, and then life would take a bunch of them away. We were in I was involved in a college group, things like that. And you'd just sharp drop your overall skill as a group and have to build back up. And it's this very jagged pattern. Well, early on the Crusades, they did that a lot, and it just sort of wore away at the Western fighters in this. It's fascinating to see. But, the Eastern fighters tended to have curved swords. They were lighter armored. They had fought lighter armored opponents, but they also fought very mobile opponents. So their style of fighting was very, very mobile. This is interesting. When you look at the overlap of Asiatic cultures and how their weapons developed, you can tell that weapons change by stealing the ideas of your enemies. One of the reasons, there are reasons that certain Dao look a lot like a katana, and vice versa. You're going to see weapons evolve. There will always be somebody who takes a fallen sword of the opponent and goes, hey, I like this. Let's make some more of these. It's fascinating. And that's the kind of stuff I go for, guys. That's the really, really good stuff. When you're dealing with appropriation and misappropriation and why they're fighting, what kind of funds they have, necessity is the mother of invention, but you get some strange weapons out of cultures that say don't have access to smelted metals, or in very small quantities. The God. It's popular in the Polynesian Islands. It's very similar to something's found in South America. It has a name that some days I can pronounce when I can bring it up. Basically, that paddle looks like a mini canoe paddle with sharpened stones or shark's teeth that bedded all the way around. Huh? That's brilliant. That's using the resources you have at with what works best. I suspect that's why the cultures that have the very whippy swords, because the metal they developed just did that. So I find that interesting. It's also ironically why Bronze Age swords were limited in length, because they wouldn't hold as long length securely as later steel swords and iron. Goodness, this is interesting, and it has to be analyzed if you're looking at the fighting historically. We get to look at it through an edge where we can, as I've proven, we can improvise weapons out of nearly anything. And this overlaps even now. That methodology is proved time and time again when you look at the weapons coming out of, say, the Khyber Pass, the Philippines, the southern. Thank you. I will spell it Macuahuitl. I want to say Macuahuitl, and I came as close as I could. And boy, did I get British to get that out. But yes, that is exactly what I'm talking about. The improvised weapons of an area have dramatic effects, ranging all the way from that to the Pennsylvania gunsmiths with the rifle barrels. Okay, the Book of the Sword by Richard A. F. Burton. Sorry, my dyslexia just flipped that. It's actually on my shelf, diagonal, right in front of me. It is a fascinating book with a caveat. I have to put a strong caveat on Mr. Burton's works. In having researched them, there were 3 words in the English language Richard Burton had never apparently encountered. That being, I don't know. So if he didn't know, he would kind of make up a plausible excuse or reason and keep bucking straight down. Obsidian spearheads. Exactly. And anytime a type of weapon is needed historically, and can't be achieved, very, very interesting evolutions happen. It really mimics Darwinian evolution, but in weapons and techniques. Look at some of the things that have come out of South Africa over the years. That's the home of some people's favorite revolving machine gun. Revolving grenade launchers. Yeah, Burton had a habit of embellishing. It is a fine book. I'm not saying don't buy it. I'm not saying don't read it, but make sure you have a salt block next to you when you do. And his footnotes are fascinating. It's Burton. I have found Burton finds telling the story and having it be a good story far more important than being accurate. Which, when allowed, that makes it a very enjoyable reading experience. You just need to know that if you're really leaning on something you pulled out of Burton, you really, really want a secondary source. And I would say most of the time, I won't give a percentage, but most of the time, if the secondary source contradicts what Burton says about something, the secondary source usually is right. But it's not horribly common, but it is a problem with his writings. I'm not bashing it. I'm not certainly not demeaning it. It's a great work. But the Book of the Sword is a fascinating read, and his adventures are fascinating. But they always have that, he's not afraid to spice it up to make himself look good or sound better. So you have to keep that in mind. John Miner says, don't look too closely at the things coming out of Swackhammer Metals. John, are you not polishing your, not cleaning up your welds? Other than that, which I still think you just need to get yourself a little, gnomish, apprentice with a small size grinding wheel, a roto tool to get in there and hit the parts that are hard for the meat hooks, because I don't blame you for what you can't reach with your meat hooks. That's said lovingly, guys. John's one of the best metal workers I know. Does beautiful work. And I own a couple pieces. Usually comes out as I bet you can't do this. Well, that's fine. Yeah. And what's funny is John saying usually comes out as I bet you can't do this. Applies to him, and it applies to Burton, which is fascinating. It's a good read, and it's old enough. You probably could find a PDF floating around in the internet ether for low or essentially free, depending on how nefarious you want to be. But I really would, with things like that, I like a print copy. That's why mine's over there next to, I believe, a pile of Laurel K. Hamilton's Nita Blake Vampire Hunter comics left over from the collection, the parts that survived the flood, on my wall of cool, which someday I will do a special video when my office is all cleared up and show you guys the glory that is my wall of cool. There you go. Hey, Glenn, you are on the Historical Fencing Guild public group, I believe. If you have that link, please, on Facebook, look up the Historical Fencing Guild. Put it there so that folks like Cindy Cap can find it, if you don't mind. That way we can, I want to promote conversation, not just here, obviously, guys. I love wrangling sword fight. Thank you so much, Glenn. Sword fighting conversation and martial artists and historians and folks getting together, because I tell you what, it is fun to take an open-minded historian and hand them the historical weapon they've read about, or do a demonstration where you can say, you've read about how they handled this. This is how it goes. And then being able to say, now, I think there might be a problem with this text, because if you do this here practically, you find it doesn't work that way. And you get this development and this camaraderie. It's fascinating. And I am really, really enthused to be entangled in that. So like I said, I am slightly putting Patton on the back burner, because with the Friday the 13th, I deep dove our good friends, the Templar Knights, and I'm fairly comfortable saying that given some of the circles I travel in. Not that anybody wants me, although I still think the government should at least cut me a check or give me some goodies for all the supernatural prevention work I did in my youth. Some shady agency got off without having to do a lot of forms because of me, and it would be nice to be appreciated. But excluding that whole incident with the Vatican guys following me around, that was a little odd, but that's okay. They have apparently settled that there was no issue, and I'm happy about it because I'm still here. That, or like every day, the assassins have failed. Honestly, though, I think they figure I'm so fat right now, assassins aren't needed. But get back. We're going to start processing in the near future. I want to take a minute. The videos, I want to do some crafting videos. I want to help people set up, because let's be honest, this bug is not clearing up till winter. So what? Instead of facing a grim, dark winter, this is not 40K, folks, and wallowing in the suffering, that's not what I'm about. We're going to work on some ways to prep for the spring and summer, when hopefully vaccines will make an opening, and if not a new normal, maybe the old normal in one form or another, for those of us who've survived 2020. So I'm going to be doing some more crafting videos so that we can build our gear. I want to start maybe a training series, because I have some personal challenges that I am fighting. And instead of fighting them in the background, which is not my style, well, actually, that totally is my style. Oh yeah, I'm fine. Oh, Nick, you're on fire. No. That's just a candle. Nick, you're on fire. No. Don't worry about it. Is it brighter though? Are y'all warm? You're on fire. Don't worry about that. I'm just gonna go over, stop, drop, and roll, and when I'm done with that, I'll bring us back some coffee. That's my mentality. That's the way I've always been. But I'm redoing my basement. Hopefully, I'm going to do some things in my garage. And I want to get set up where I can do things like put down a modified circle so I can practice my Spanish. Maybe do a circle and cross drill. Longtime friends will know of what I'm referring. Just to get my box step back. I'll probably be doing it with the aid of my cane, which I left out when I was going to show off the new glow-in-the-dark tip. Oh well. So I was, like I said, I was approached not too long ago by Richard Asplin Jr. And a wonderful man, better writer than he admits if he'd ever finish anything. But he was like, Nick, can you show me how to make your style adaptive? I'm all about adaptive. That's what I do. I take a system, I make it adaptive for everybody else. You get about between 80 and 20, depending on what you're doing, and you do that. That's what it should be. Oh. So I will be doing videos of, training and, getting, hopefully using that as a means to get back in shape if that's something you're interested in. If not, again, tell me. I want to give you the content that will serve and entertain you guys. Would I like to sell The Simple Sword by Nicholas Tucker? Da, 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 da. Yes, absolutely. But my primary job is, as always, service. I'm about building everybody else up while I'm still here. My running gag is I am a supernatural footstool. Let me just interlace my fingers and boost you up just a notch. That's what I do. That's why I'm so happy to run with the Rising Tide crowd. Who right now are all over listening to a drunken rap because that's what they do on Fridays. And that's okay. I don't hold it against them. Okay. No more of that for a bit. I'm starting to feel the caffeine. Starting, he says. Woo! But I want to do a series on indoor training or how to do it and not sword fight your ceiling fan with a war scythe, because I know nothing about fighting ceiling fans with war scythes. Although I won! Anyway. Either something's wrong with the net, or I have just baffled everyone to relative silence, or Glenn and John are chatting in the background, which is all well and good. I want you guys entertained. Are you not entertained? But yes. Well, that's the trip. Thank you, Cindy. You saved me from just tottering on the void of feeling like I'm talking to an empty room. No, I know you guys are here, guys. I'm, like I said, Friday the 13th is actually a sort of holiday for me, in that my luck is usually so bad that Friday the 13th is an inversion. And if I ever remembered to buy a lottery ticket today, I'd probably not have to use a tarp as my background. But we're working on that. And I want to thank the folks who have made donations toward that cause. Yes. The things will be getting not only better, but I have some plans that will help everybody along. Speaking of plans, I am waiting because our friends at Purple Heart haven't released the glory that is going to be a $50 entry-level rapier from them. Is what I'm hearing. And if it's not just a basic trainer like the where is it? Oh, still here. Like this guy, I'm going to dance a jig because I am looking. 50 is a little pricey, but it is within the range of my quest to find something to spray paint orange and make the final piece of the This Is Nick's Preferred Buy It Off the Shelf training gear, like this axe, which apparently I have one inbound, thanks to the incredibly generosity of my one of my actual patrons, not Patreon patrons, but old school patrons, Steve Clausen. So I will have a live steal, something I've been training with for years. The ubiquitous parry dagger, which, especially for you, Cindy, you were talking about shorter things. If you want a sword training tool, getting one of these off of Amazon, and it will be black. Mine is just mostly painted orange for visibility during night shoots. But this is for anybody with grip issues. It's light. The grip is actually comfortable for smaller hands. Thank you so much. So Glenn just told me the link for the book of the sword is now posted in the Guild FB group. Guys, I have that group so you guys can contact me directly, contact each other. Yes, this is actually from Cold Steel. And you can actually see the logo pretty clearly despite the paint. You can get this for like $12. I have seen it as low as $8. I often see it around the $20 line. So I really, for you, Cindy, especially, if you're looking for something to get back into form with, this is long enough to be a fighting knife, angled right to be very comfortable for side practice. This is almost a hybrid side. It is the perfect offhand dagger trainer, and my version, which is floating off-site, because I chucked it too hard one week, I took a piece of HDP and just wrapped it and made it into a mangouche. Very, very elegant, light, and cheap. I would love to be able to tell people that the weapons could all be bought for under $100. That would be my dream, because the other in that series that I frequently reference is this guy. Note, friends, they actually make a larger version of this that is roughly twice the diameter. It isn't big enough for me to warrant the price right now, but it would be very popular. My stuttering is outstanding today. The rain in Spain falls mainly on the neck. But, oh, there's that missing thing. Hold on. Fans of this is my war star. It also serves a wonderful purpose when I don't want to get off camera. Aha! Here we go. My personal one. This guy. I basically took it. I left it rugged so you can see. This is just a piece of cheap HDP I snagged from Menards. I have no idea how much it was, but it was not terribly expensive. You could probably use any thick paint or a thin cutting board I'd heat shape it, not cold shape it, but it's literally retained by black electrical tape that I wadded over the little button, because this button has a little nice button here, essentially. So it makes it very easy to attach a rigging. Now, there is an honorable mention for swords after a fashion, and yes, John, I throw swords at my crowd. That's why no one's in here when I train. Being the Wuja, I think it's Wuja, dyslexia and non-English words do not always get along well. But you can find a Tai Chi sword. It's about $20. This is a modified one. It actually fits. If it were Western styled, that would be the dream sword, and I'd just run with it. Even though it's a little light, it allows for thrusting. So, thoughts, guys? We're close. Cold Steel. If Lynn Thompson ever would listen and take this dagger essentially at double the length or triple the length, I would buy 10 of them. I would just be like, it'll take tax check money, but I would buy 10 of them. The Amazon, let me see. While I'm talking to you, I will look up what you asked. And I'm using my side computer so it does not interfere with the main line. Let me do that. There we go. And if I seem a little excited, I got to give 2 kids their first library card. I geeked out. I think I made like 2 notices in a video on Facebook, but I accept that because it's awesome. I don't get to be cool, so I might as well be passionate. Anyway, boom. We're gonna look it up on our good buddy Amazon Prime just to get a rough trend. Being cold, steel, Perry, Dagger Trainer. And I do have the medieval dagger. I actually do have it tucked away somewhere, but it's a little expensive. Let's see what they're going for right now. Oh, okay. Cindy, that's what I'm talking about. It's going for $15.99, $14.99 there. Again, if you look around, you might find it cheaper. It is one of the best, especially if you're not group organized. It's a little light for human use, but I haven't heard active complaints. I have heavier ones. I have heavier parry daggers, but really, with my issues, I'm leaning more and more towards lighter grade weapons to the point where I may be just ordering a few of these with the intent of deliberately modifying them. Well, the gin. I have the gin that's unmodified is in the garage pile, but I might do that to make some custom weapons because I desperately want one of those Bilbao, but since it doesn't seem to exist, I'm going to have to make it or get enough money to wave it at John and go, "Hey, John, you think you can make that right, please?" Which would be really groovy, but we'll see. And again, I do apologize to anybody who was upset that I was a few minutes late logging on. It's not that I regret inconveniencing you, not that I wouldn't do it again because that's job. I realize my horns are getting squashed by swords. You don't ever want to see the madness that is my office. I really should get like a trophy head to put on the wall to put those horns on. But yeah, guys, what we do, I want to take a moment. I have received comments that I am not terribly scholarly in my approach, or that I am not austere and serious. If I love something and it matters a lot, I need to be comfortable making fun of it. That means I understand it in and out. And that means we can, I appreciate it for what it is. But enjoy it. Enjoy the training. Enjoy the fact you're playing knight. But never, at the same time, don't be afraid to keep it practically minded. You have to balance that. Or else you either become a flake or a hardcore, super special operator guy. Like we need a more dry, tedious lecture person. The world according to... I almost dropped an old prof's name, who I won't drop. I will mention one, though. If you are ever in Northwest Indiana and you have a chance to take, I hope he still teaches it, the Western Civilization Cycle with one Janusz Duzinkiewicz. It's a Polish name. It's about yay long. Janusz, just like the two-faced god, but he isn't. He's a very good guy. And Duzinkiewicz, I can't spell it, but you offhand, and I apologize. He's probably the smartest person I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. He certainly is the wisest in the ways of history. And it's a pleasure and honor, and he's somebody who will always inspire me. But so if you have a chance to study with that man, he's truly one of the greats. And if not, well, then you missed out, and it sucks to be you. I think I took every class that he offered except for one because they wouldn't let me take it. So, yeah, they got mad because I didn't like American history much, but meh. And he didn't teach it. That's why I didn't like it. We are at a time, and part of the reason I mentioned that, and actually something I deep dove, and I will put the article. This is just a little short Wikipedia article. That this is what it looks like when I'm having fun, folks. Like, you start seeing multicolored pens and chicken scratch. This is analysis, and I'm reading it, and I'm looking at what was going on with King Philip, and I was looking at what was going on with the way the Templars were perceived. And boy, folks, does history repeat itself. Deceptions and false allegations. It is oddly comforting in what seems so abnormal to us is actually a proud tradition of historical dicks. So the perspective helps. And I found it fascinating. So yeah, I do need to put the link up to this particular article. Little Wikipedia, not high scholarly anything, but fun. As we prep for winter, I would recommend making sure you have a short trainer that's comfortable, a prepared space in your home or garage that's temperature controlled. You want climate controlled for those of us with injuries, and safe. If possible, consider acquiring a the cheap over the door, on the door closet mirrors, the full length mirrors that those of us who are overweight avoid, like Medusa's gaze. You want to get at least one of those, and I will recommend setting up a camera and recording how you drill and move, whatever style you're training. If you're training the simple sword, rock on. If you're brave enough to put it up on like the guild list, I'll try to look at them. I will critique and make suggestions, because I can't get to you guys, so I need to find ways to do that. So kind of think along the lines of, you can't swing a broadsword while you're in the forest, and pick weapons you can train with indoors, or are like Purple Heart, I believe, has some fetters for your longsword guys that are short and weighted like a paddle. So you have the weight of a long blade, but a much shorter reach, so that you can do all your Myers spinniness, overhead chops, and ox guard and all that fun stuff, and not necessarily beat up your ceiling. A little bit of preparation now, while it's warmer and nicer, will go a long ways. Realistically, there is a good chance that we will be facing another type of lockdown. Either one instituted or one you may decide upon simply through logic and observation, And as that's the case, make use of the time. That's why, I keep my books at minimum, especially the simple sword. I want you guys to have a chance to start learning the basics to make things go. Starting Monday, I will be on a massive writing resurgence. I'll be working on the hybrids, the RPG, Quick Play Part 2, which applies to you somewhat, but I'll also be working on the axe, because I have found I cannot work on a single project by itself. If I don't have something to bounce back and forth, it's too constrictive. It feels like work. So what I end up doing is procrastinating from one to work on the other, and then I profit. I have several books that are in works through this cycle, so I'm hoping I want to get at least something else up by end of year. I lost some time doing some other things. And I don't regret it, but it's time to get the wheels rolling. So there should be some new good things. I'm still also eyeballing and taking my notes and shoving them aside for the simple sword part, the strong sword, which is the volume 2 of the Historical Fencing Guild's Manual of Defense. Whew, that came out fast. So that will be coming. And I know I've been saying that, but also I've been working on it. It takes time. Took 15 years to write the first book, so any progress I go faster than that is a lot better than I expected. That's like, Nick, you published in like 2016. Starting to feel the weight there, guys. But that's okay. I want it done right. And it's hard when I don't. Part of the process for writing the last book had a lot of, okay, guys, just for a minute, I need to borrow Trey, and we're going to do a bout. And it would be me working on something very specific so that I could check how I wanted to phrase it. Hurried work is worried work. Absolutely. My mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, had a sign on the wall in her kitchen that said, the hurrier I go, the behind her I get. So I want to avoid that. Oh, I got some messages. Let's see. Oh, that's why I'm feeling so poppy. Wow. Anyway, while I'm doing that, I'm also we've been working in the downstairs quite a bit, and I might be able to get working on some more trainers and more projects. I need to know things you guys want to see worked on. Now, Cindy gave me this lovely list of titles, and I realized they're what I call whiteboard titles. I could give the lecture like this, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba. But some things really work better if I can roll in a whiteboard and kind of get scribbling. But my whiteboard is currently, well, technically, I have one whiteboard that's somebody used the wrong kind of markers and things on, and it's holding up Lydia, my office assistant, and the resident ghoul that terrifies my wife and my son and keeps people out of my office, and Steph. I think she might just keep the house from being haunted by being like an occupied sign. It's interesting. I dig her though. Anyway, uh, so I need to acquire a different whiteboard or maybe some formatting for a shared screen format. I've been putting off some deep dives I need to do. That's good though, because it's coming. Um, I want to talk to you guys because most of us have been hit by this bug, and we're not drilling, we're not training, we're not doing what we really need to do. So everybody who's watching and watches this, really consider formulating a workable plan to get back into fighting form. This isn't getting into shape. I have some goals. I want to get under 300. I want to get some mobility issues back. I'm on different meds. I'm seeking new meds. We'll see how some stuff goes. There were some reactions. This happens. But as I'm doing that journey, I want to help you guys with your journey. Because honestly, I'm that guy who I'll sit in a boat not going anywhere, but I'll row for miles for somebody else. It's just, I'm broken that way. If you ever read a book by Jane Yolen, it's called Wizard's Bane, it's basically a better version of Harry Potter about 20 or 30 years before Harry Potter came out. Something like that. And there's a type of character involved called an enhancer, where they aren't a mage like normal. They don't make magic. They improve the magic around them. And I suspect that my tendencies run that way. In life, as in with all things. So I'm always looking for the right structure to be plugged into to do the most good. Boom. But okay. Cindy says, I tried to start training and my knee went, but I am undaunted. I just need to stop with the lunges. Well, Cindy, if you pay attention to me in my lecture on lunges, I despise them. The style I teach actually has very few lunges. Now, granted, you have the body of a fencing goddess for that sort of thing. You are long and lean and slender, and you have reach for freaking miles for your body type. Just looking at the photos of your proportions. That means with a light weapon, you would be devastating. Long, light, possibly leaning more towards small sword than rapier, simply because it will be easier for you to work. But you can do your, and this is the voice of experience. I have a modified form of Tai Chi I do from my chair. The fencing style I prefer is mostly footwork based in the Spanish system, and some elements of Tai Chi that never go away. But so if you have concerns and you want to try to talk out a direct system, like take from like the book essentially and codify something that works better for you, by all means DM me. We'll work something out. John Meyer says, how about a face-to-face night on live chats, which we do for the lodge? I've actually considered that. I've been trying to work out how that would go. Part of the reason I haven't is right now my internet is exquisitely bad. And there is a new company that supposedly is laying lines through towards my town. Yeah, don't, guys, lunges are a duelist's game and a one-on-one kind of thing. They're also, when you know them, they're predictable. John, you don't need lunges. Just stop. I'm going to pull aside. John, you're 6 foot locked with abnormally long arms. I don't want to deal with a step. He has a 15-foot range, guys. I'm not kidding. His effective striking distance is roughly 15 feet. This is not an actual lunge. This man could nearly pull off a 20-foot lunge. Okay? And if he did like an advancing step, I don't want to deal with that. I don't know. No. I will bring an RPG on the field. I am not dealing with somebody your size doing lunges. No. And they're no good in melee. And if it's no good in melee, don't do it in a duel. Throw that crap right out the window. If somebody's stupid enough to do it in a duel, you should see it coming. Because it's dumb. Is that popular? No. Is it a hot take? Absolutely. Sorry about that. But thank you to the friends who are sending me things for the express purpose of making me stutter. I love you guys. I suspect highly that Steve Clausen is behind it. But I do love you guys. Let me see. Yes. Well, figure John is 6 foot tall. Okay. A stride for him is roughly 3 feet, but he's incredibly long-legged. His step length is 5 something feet, plus 3 more is 8 for base extension. He fights with a 40 some odd inch sword. So you're looking at 10 to 12. Easy. If he could do a full Olympic lunge, 15 feet, not bad. If he could do a sliding lunge, which I have seen some people do, or a step lunge where you incorporate a transverse step as you are lunging, which that goes against everything I believe. Yeah, 20 foot, not a problem. Considering he fences with great swords, oh yeah. If he had a rapier of Spanish style scaled to him, it would be about a 5-foot long blade. I'm not being melee like to the fourth opponent in the opposing line. Absolutely. The internet in general is having, Glenn says, is having global issues. YouTube went down entirely, scared the pants off of me. If there's ever an occasion where YouTube is down during this video type thing, I will do a live video through Facebook and hope I can save it later, or have a friend who's sorceress acquire it, and then I'll put it up on YouTube later. But just so that there's a fallback. I believe in doing fallbacks. But yes, it is fighting. I fought Victor, whose arms are, he's shorter than John, but his arms are longer, in a 15 by 15 list field, and on assessment, because somebody gave him like 45-inch rapier, I think. It's either 43 or 45. At extension, with a slight step, he could not only hit me anywhere on the field, he could go corner to corner. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, sidestep lunge. Good God. If people wonder why I'm small and full of hate and really love short weapons, it's because when I had to fight guys like this, strange things would happen. One, a lot of times I'd just ditch my primary sword, go down double dagger, because there's no way at standard functioning distance I was going to do anything. I had to basically either rush them and literally get the parry and blade slide in, maintaining tacto the whole time, or I would have to basically wait, get the parry as they're advancing, go to the outside because you can't cross inside because that other arm would tear you up, and then again, while maintaining basically blade slide in to keep control, which would be easier if my rapier, if my swords had a catch like this, but they're not allowed in the SCA, at least they weren't at the time. Blades coming in, so basically, sorry, well, I haven't armed you guys yet. You guys, here's the sword. Okay. That's all about catching way out here and sliding way in to do the job. That stinks when this is nearly as long as you are tall. And it is, brutal. A counter. Yes. That's why I favored two daggers. Or a standard 17 and a half, 18-inch dagger. I know, John. John says, Terry and I in the same field of 20 square against any other two. We are devastating. Not only have I seen it, I've fought it, John. It's one of the few times I almost rather go out cloak and dagger, because I got back then I was fast. I'd have to do something pretty. And guys, pretty, magnificent, doing something extraordinary always takes so much out of me. Golf. Now I want to watch The Slipper and the Rose. Thank you, John. Now I'm going to have to, have my wife smile at me, and we're going to have to watch The Slipper and the Rose. Dang it. But and I will say this, The Slipper and the Rose is the quintessential greatest Cinderella version ever, followed by Ever After with the effervescent Drew Barrymore. I have little use for most versions of Cinderella because usually she's far too passive for my tolerance. Wow, that was both. That came from like the diaphragm, there was the gut. There was a bit of bile there. Like, no, I have no use for useless Disney princesses, but I don't. Arm them up, teach them to fight. I would have loved to see Sleeping Beauty wake up of her own accord while Maleficent was causing stuff and shank her from behind. I would have clapped. To shank, it's a verb and a noun. One of my favorite words. I do like shank. It's so God, I can't remember the word. It's not onomatopoeia, is it? The word for a sound like bang or boom. But shank also works as that. Great word. Should be in more people's vocabulary. Milady Millicent. Yes, Milady Millicent is also a word that should be onomatopoeia. Thank you. Thank you. Not only was I correct, I have enough literary types to keep me on flow. Guys, it's not that I didn't learn most of the stuff, it's that I forgot it. But yes, onomatopoeia. And that's a fun word to say, and I may just find myself saying it more often just because it needs to. I am nice to your daughter. I treat her well. I suppose I got her a literal, essentially, dragon's tooth for our anniversary. A fossilized mosasaur tooth. Yeah, bone, porcelain, bone china. Fossils. Anyway. Yes, I'm such a geek. Guys, today has been a great day. It really has. I have not given credit to this because I had so much fun doing it. I just enjoyed it too much. Sitting there, library, all by myself, highlighting things, waiting, feeling like Giannis was going to walk right into the room. But reading tales of treachery, torture, and travesty. Yeah. Give me that tawdry history goodness. Glenn said, somewhere in there is a joke about sharp pencils being shank-worthy. That is not a joke. That, my friend, is one of the natural assessments I do for every writing implement I pick up. It's not, is it shankable? It's how repeated shankable is it? Because any of them are shankable once. In the words of the Joker, want to see a magic trick? But, that just, it's cleansing. Just like, did I knock it out of the dragon's mouth? No, John, my job is to keep the dragons asleep for a little while longer. You know that. Well, most of them. Hasn't been foggy in a long time, though. Starlit, but not foggy. Yeah, I'm talking obscure references to John, and that's okay, because he knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, I figure a fossilized mosasaur is about as real a dragon's tooth I could present as anything. And she got the reference, so I think that's cool. Yeah, if I needed one, I probably could ask in the right circles. But I don't want to pay for whatever that price would be. Thank you very much. Wow, would I rather negotiate with a dragon or a high-ranking fae? I don't know there. I genuinely don't know. That's like, I gotta think about that for a bit. That's one of those questions that will keep me up at night. But yes. I'm still planning when I have the right setting to do the improvised weapons video. We've reached a point historically where it's too good of knowledge not to disseminate. With a whole lot of caveats of this is dangerous and or deadly. Do not do it at home in public or with anyone you want to survive. Lawyer Nick got a hold of it, just like grabbed my speech impediment, choke slammed it, dropped the elbow. That's why I'm here to put them to sleep. Usually War Club, you know, John, before you get all Thor on matters, bringing the smite, of Mjolnir down on dragons. Very often you just whisper softly, "Hey guys, it's not time yet." They'll nod and go back to sleep. Vast majority of the time. At least let sleeping dragons lie, guys. Do not. Woo! That was reflexives gone awry. Do not meddle in the affairs of dragons, for you are crunchy and taste good with ketchup. And heaven help the human race if dragons discover Sweet Baby Ray's honey barbecue sauce. We may not exist after. But that's right up there with waiting to see what would happen if, or right. Still not sure that was Friends. That was a memory dump scenario. We didn't really talk much before or after. A poorly phrased phrase fell out of my mouth, and I got to feel like a Commodore 64 plugged into a T3 line. Whoop. But those were the old days. Remember, don't be a bummer. Vote for Gummer. That is mostly a joke, but I got this in the mail, and I know my crowd would support the humor and glory of this, and I realized I hadn't shown it to you. So, and if I did, I'll show it to you again because it's worth it. But yeah, I'm still seeking that magic sword that I can buy because I don't want to have to modify. So, if you guys see plastic trainer swords that look interesting, if you see new products that look good, I can't see all the groups. That's part of why the Historical Fencing Guild's public Facebook account is there. Few people remember that there used to be two groups, and there are indeed two groups. There's the public and the private. What is the private? Guys, what secrets are you? The private is like, hey, can you bring some potato chips when you come out? We're having practice. And it's a bunch of people's private addresses. Y'all, if you're not going at that level, you don't need that. So for those who occasionally contact me, yeah, no. All the good stuff I have moved to the public. And please, meme that up. It should be entertaining. John Miner says, nights are jelly-filled if you can get through the shell. Gonna be good about, I want to make a cream-filled donut joke. I really do. But I'm not going to. You can't make me. So, but yeah, woo. Wow, today's just really weird, isn't it? I mean, like the energy is all over the place, and I'm feeling it today. My hat just reappeared, which makes me happy, in that it was missing and now it's not, and I feel like going up to Boston, and if you know that musical reference, you'll understand that. But shipping up to Boston, because if I had an entrance theme, I think that would be the entrance theme, the instrumental version. But if you guys think there's a better entrance theme, let me know. Let me see. There was something over here I was going to talk to you guys about, and it just slipped my mind. It's not the old Timberwolf throwers, is it? I mean, these guys? No. Oh! I know what I wanted to talk about, and I'm going to float this by Cindy Kett because she may be as prolific, if not more prolific, than our good fiend Robert Patterson. That being, I was watching. What was I watching? Oh, I was actually watching a true crime post-mortem thing with Shane Madej and Ryan Bagheera, Powder Puff. And they were referencing Mandalorian, which is a great show, and that is my cookie for getting through the videos. After I'm done with you, it's a Friday night. I'm going to go out there, take care of some business, sit down and watch The Mandalorian. But sci-fi westerns are great. Firefly will always be one of my favorite programs ever. Right after Babylon 5. Cookies! Yes, we are joined by the beautiful and talented Steve Clausen. I don't know why I dropped the beautiful and talented, but he is fairly pretty. You are at home this weekend and able to relax with my puppies in the shop. Good for you. John, amongst his other unique traits, is rather fond of rescue greyhounds. Now, greyhounds are a little high maintenance and a lot high energy for yours truly, but they are beautiful dogs. And if you ever wanted to know about how that rescue thing and retired, because a lot of it isn't rescue. They were retired and they get a good home because they were actually pretty well cared for. Talk to John. Hey, you know what? Nice bourbon. I've got my black cherry jet fuel here for us non-alcoholic types. I like to think I ingest enough caffeine to offset all you guys out knocking back booze, and the world's a beautiful place. Especially since it comes in that little purple squirt bottle, so I can modulate just how much of an excessive amount of caffeine is in my little 2-liter squeeze bottle. I haven't put any vanilla in it tonight, though, and I kind of regret that. I do like getting that a bit of baking vanilla in there, so you get the that cherry cordialish little candies. You get it right. It tastes like one of the little royal chocolate covered cherries. But yeah, I'm glad you're back, John, and I hope you can stay back. Honestly, I hope you can retire from all that hard work you do. You and Steve Clausen both work way too hard in way too many places and don't get to spend your time, energy, and the substantial incomes you may raise on what you love, and I don't think that's fair, and it will bug me till the day I die. I mean, I am financially impoverished, but I'm financially impoverished because I'm doing the right thing. Johnson, I got 5 days to do what I want in the shop. 3 days. Do it, John. Knock something out. All right, John, knock something out. Take pictures, put it up on the guild list so we can see what it is. Ginger beer is available at Big Lots. Ginger beer is good, especially if you have an upset stomach. It can vary wildly. I'm a bit of a fan of actually like locally produced root beers. A lot of the small refineries and stuff. You'll be doing. Guys, Steve Clausen just said, "I'll be doing what you want." Steve Clausen said, "I'll be doing what I want soon." Do you hear the ominous heartbeat of doom and disaster in the background? Do you hear the looming winds of change bellowing across the great plains of this land? No fear. Brought to you by Arby's. They got the meats. But Cindy Kemp says caffeine and alcohol are both evil, but more for you. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, Cindy. Caffeine is not good. And in the quantity to take, well, it's significantly less than it used to be, but it also helps with some of my issues. So there's a bit of medicinal for me on caffeine. Mind clearing, but Glenn is already retired, thankfully. And Glenn, your Green River is a classic, and it can't be oversold. Glenn is retired, but he is one of the hardest working retired people I know for his research on some. If you are interested in Arthurian legends or alchemy, Glenn is the guy to seek. He has a vast store of knowledge and connections on those two fields. And everybody should know a good alchemist. Oh, Cindy kept definitely more for you then. Yeah, thank you. I suspect I have a little bit of certain conditions that health insurance doesn't always balance observation, and I know that the right level of maintenance caffeine really clears my mind and just settles things down. So I'm a big fan of it. So part of what gets me through the glory that is these rambling Friday nights. Let me see. My phone made a noise, and it was wow. 8 robocalls. It's beginning to look a lot like Friday. On that subject, I do love Thanksgiving. Obviously, I'm a fat guy. And normally I am devoutly Christmas follows Thanksgiving. No Christmas. Guys, it's 2020. If you want to have Christmas lights up while you're eating your Halloween candy, headbanging to Decomposing Pumpkins by Great Brain Krieg, and then, cutting over to your pumpkin spiced eggnog latte, basic, what, I don't care. If you find joy, seize it. Okay? Seize the Carpe Baculum, seize the wand. And yes, I know it's after I know it is after October, but I will be saying that. Ooh, John brought back Julie 3 cases of birch beer from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania's beautiful. Humbug. Steve, you are allowed to humbug. You are absolutely allowed to humbug. But both of us know about Project Secret Santa. So I say nothing, but we know. I can't remember the full acronym now. I'm brain farting because it was Ordnance Delivery International Nightly? No, I can't. International Nocturnal? I can't remember that acronym now. I'm brain farting. Anyhow, we have to set out and enjoy things. And yes, to confirm, see, I know Glenn, and Glenn is one of the few alchemists I will admit to knowing John Dow's. This is not a product of this. I don't know why you guys keep thinking that the totally not glowing juice that I acquired theoretically from a drow matron for services rendered has anything to do with my caffeinated beverage. It's not true. Quit asking. Jeez. But I want you guys who are starting. I thought you started. Oh, wait. There's been a miscommunication between me, Steve. One of us misfiled the reference. Because there is somebody who I haven't spoken to in some time, but I didn't think she had any weight in this. But we'll see. Not that I wish anyone ill, usually. But I got way off topic, guys. I actually skipped my top of the hour sales break, so I'm going to stop. I want to thank Steve Clausen. I want to thank John Miner. I want to thank Cindy Kett, because they're all here and in different ways are supporting me. I want to thank Steve Augusta, who's probably watching from the background. You guys, I couldn't do it without you. And my sales through Amazon on www.amazon.com/author/Nicholas Tucker, where you can find things like the Big Stumpy Robots Core Rulebook, which is not the Simple Sword. Oh, how silly. I should be plugging the Simple Sword. Oh! No. The Drow Matron I was referring to is not that one. I'm not actually in communication. I have not spoken with her in months. Only reason I know she's alive is because I saw invisible comments made by her responded to by someone else I know. which at least lets me know she's alive, and actually did a lot to calm my nerves on that subject. But yeah, like I said, Glenn is an interesting source for alchemy, and I hope he and John can have some long, interesting conversations, because I think you definitely will have interesting conversations. I'm debating. I may do a video on dealing with the Orange Menace. Pumpkins. What else would I have that's an Orange Menace that needs to be destroyed? I don't know. I'm talking pumpkins, guys. We'll see. That is possibly in the works. The problem is the painted pumpkins were done by my son, and he might take offense at me doing a cutting video using those pumpkins. So we will see. Because that was asked about. Sorry. Different references to draw matrons are running through my head now, and I'm going to get myself in a lot of trouble real fast. And I'd rather not get myself in a lot of trouble, so let's not do that. Next week, I might just do a live craft for you guys. I may just make something really simple, really fast and dirty to show you guys how simple, fast, and dirty some of this could be done. I'm going to go back into Patton and talk a bit more about it if there's interest. If not, hit me with the requests, and I still have Cindy Kemp's conversational shopping list to address. Due to the nature of my delay in getting things started tonight, I'm not going to be on the full length of time, as I may be needed, and my spider sense is just starting to fire off on that subject. So, I want to thank everybody who's come out. We've had lovely discussions. I'm going to try to put the link that I got for this, because it's just 11 pages of betrayal and cunning, and this is what the background story to Star Wars should have felt like. And honestly, looking at the fall of the Jedi Knights, I wonder if old George Lucas wasn't heavily influenced by this. It's that good. So I'll reference that in the gobbledygook at the end of the video. I have a couple people who are pinging me with some personal stuff that I have to attend to, which I respect, because that's what I do. I take care of people. Glenn did put the link to the Book of the Sword by Burton. It is up in the Historical Fencing Guild's public group, so share it out, look over it. I'll probably put the link to the condensed reference document that I found on Wikipedia, because yes, I have the books and I've done the study. I just needed the Cliff's Notes for this video, and I'll get into that. You guys, you make it great for me. Every week you come out, and every week it gets better. And it's just with everything that's coming and the possibility of another lockdown, we got to be there for each other in entertainment and elevation and education. I want to get in shape. I want you guys to get in the best shape you can. We can all move forward. So we're going to work toward that, and I'm going to make that a big part of my coming agenda as we roll towards the end of 2020, and we can put this dumpster fire to bed. Guys, be kind. Today is actually International Kindness Day. This is in memory of Mr. Rogers, who is one of my personal heroes. People make fun. I don't care. Fred Rogers taught people kindness and how to love each other and themselves, and was probably one of the most Christ-like figures I've ever seen, and of pastors who never once had to reference the source material. He just showed it. So he is a hero, and I respect him, and I respect what he did. And the message is build each other up. Be kind to each other. Be kind to yourselves. Take care of each other. Buy my books, and if possible, guys, remember, support your local sword master.